morning, Joe.
Morning, Chairman. Great to see you again.
Yeah, great to see you. We're getting excited. I mean, everybody's getting ready to head to Toronto. As you know, the PDAC 2022 is back. Obviously, a more limited version, less days and less booths, and it seems to be less hotel rooms. I don't know if you're having the same experience as me. We went to book our hotel rooms, and it was a little bit of a shock to find that the rates had moved up. I guess the hotels also believe in inflationary pressures, but did you find a cheap place to stay?
I wouldn't call it cheap, but I found one. But I had Michelle, our ER lady, field the reservations a couple months ago at least. So,
oh, you did it before me. My dates were kind of moving around, and I'm going to be doing the Metal Investor Forum with Eric Coffin and his group, and then of course the bigger show, the PDAC. So I'm here this morning, excited to be doing an update with Joe Hebert with Outcrop Silver and Gold. Outcrop is a very exciting exploration story based in Colombia. So the timing's really great to spend a little bit of time with you, Joe. I mean, Colombia has been in the news lately as the headlines are talking about the election, number one. So I thought we'd talk a little bit about what's going on in Colombia from a macro point of view. From my point of view, I mean, elections and politics and those sorts of concerns are always, in the mix when you're looking at investing in countries like Colombia. We're also active in Spain. We're active in Burkina Faso. As you know, we're involved with Burkina Faso with Orezone Gold and Patrick Downey. We're in Spain with Tim Moody and Pan Global and the copper discovery they have there. And then over the last couple of years, through my introduction with your group, we've been very active in Colombia, not only with Outcrop, but some private interests as well. And we're very, very excited about everything that we see going on in Colombia. And I mean, here's Joe Hebert, who's running a company that's based out of Colombia, which I think is offering incredible value at these price levels. So I thought I would just turn it over to you, Joe, to give us a bit of an update. Number one, the state of your views on what's happening in Colombia with the elections, number one, and then number two is you had some news in the market of a new recent appointment, which is also very exciting. And then I guess finally, maybe we can just have a couple-minute chat just back and forth between me and you in terms of what's happening in the junior sector right now and why it's a little bit of a shopping spree for those that have cash. I mean, there's nothing like going into the supermarket when things are on sale, and that's what we're finding in the junior resource market. So I think we'll just wrap up our short call this morning. Talk, you and I can just have a one-to-one chat about the junior resource markets. But I'll turn it over to you, Joe, just to give us an update and also talk about the state of affairs in Colombia.
Yeah, well, I mean, the election obviously is front page news. The favorite for the mining industry was FICO, largely because I think that was he was expected to win, possibly without a runoff. But as it happened, Hernandez actually won the runoff election, or primary election, I should say. And FICO has pledged his votes to Hernandez. Oh. So that basically pretty much simple arithmetic and the influence that the voting groups in the larger departments have is probably going to be Hernandez. And Hernandez is he hasn't expressed a strong and direct support for metals as FICO, but at the same time, I think it's going to be a very sane party. And I think also the complexion of the Congress will be center-right center. So, and also FICO with respect to a lot of FICO support. The previous election, his support was limited to the fringe departments, Chocó, Santander, where basically a lot of the guerrilla groups are still active or were active until recently. Um, uh, Petro being an ex-M19 guerrilla. But I think that, again, I just think that Petro was favored this time basically because of really, really widespread disaffection caused by COVID, directly related to conditions of COVID. So I think without those conditions, I think into the next, even the next two or more prime presidential cycles, I think the mining industry would be well positioned with respect to the governments we can expect.
So really, it's actually a bit of, I mean, it's turning out to be a bit of good news. I mean, we've seen nothing but, I mean, just looking from my point of view here in Canada and looking at our investments in Colombia, including Outcrop, it's been mostly all positive the last, number of years in terms of what this looks like for miners. I mean, you've got, maybe just describe, I mean, we all know, a lot of us have indications, I guess, of how incredibly mineralized Colombia is and underexplored, and maybe just talk to that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, Colombia really is the true last frontier in South America. That is also a good jurisdiction with respect to safe investment. Inherently, working in Colombia is a de-risker of your projects. I mean, I don't think people really understand the quality of projects that Outcrop is able to acquire, because you're looking at terrains that are as favorable, gold terrains that are as favorable as Peru or Chile, but probably 40 years behind the curve on systematic exploration. So Outcrop basically looks for outcropping deposits, and that's what we acquire. If they aren't outcropping deposits, honestly, we don't fool, because of the risk is such that with a high grade system that you can identify at surface and then come up to drill. I mean, you're at the drill ready stage expecting good results. You can put your hand on it at surface. You can step off and drill it. I can't do that right now anywhere in the world that I can think of that I have experienced.
That's a really good point, Joe. And I mean, I as you know, I was on the site tour, and that's a remarkable statement. It's an area where Outcrop has properties where there's outcrop, and not only outcrop, but mineralized outcrop. And I stood on these properties to verify that. And, I think that's a great jumping point in terms of, I mean, I'm here with Joe Hebert, the CEO of Outcrop Silver and Gold, talking number one about how attractive Colombia is as jurisdiction. We've already sort of mentioned how the election results are really just continue to be positive overall for mining, and really, I mean, there's a lot bigger things happening in Colombia. We all know what mining can do in a very positive way, not only for the communities, for the economy, and I mean, Colombia has clearly recognized that. So we've checked that box already, and we want to be in Colombia, and we want to own companies like Outcrop that are managed by great people like Joe and his team, and also have incredible projects. And most importantly, or just as importantly, is that we can buy at the right price. So Outcrop Gold and Silver now at this ridiculous low market cap, we're kind of pounding the table, not only on Colombia, but also on Outcrop. So, investors should really be paying attention. So with that as a backdrop, maybe just talk about your new appointment, because that's kind of exciting news for some developments for Outcrop as well.
Yeah, we had a little gap in coverage on the VP exploration slot, so we were very careful about who we fielded. We wanted the best place to go for the experience, honestly, is Mexico, because Mexico has numerous deposits and vein systems very much like Santa Ana. Not quite as easy as Santa Ana, again, because Santa Ana outcrops basically its whole length of potential. But Guillermo Hernandez has good experience, the right places, the right mines. And then another advantage he in particular offers is he's solid on resource estimation. And as you know, one of our major milestones moving forward will be publishing a maiden compliant resource before the end of 2022. And so this way, with Guillermo, it'll be internal studies, but we'll know strategically where we are with respect to that milestone of the compliant resource, so that we know sort of where to what proportion to delineation, what proportion to greenfields exploration, what to brownfields. And so it's a program sort of tailored to hit those that compliant resource. You might recall that we offered internal guidance. We think we can put out between 45 and 55 million silver equivalent ounces at over 550 grams silver equivalent per ton.
Those are serious numbers, and I just maybe reiterate that for our listeners, that Outcrop is sort of on track, and with this new appointment and exploration activities, giving I think very reasonable guidance of 45 to 50 million ounces of silver. I mean, you don't have to do the math for very long at 14, 15 cents a share price to go. Outcrop is a serious buy right now, and I just sort of step back a little bit, and for investors, obviously you don't always buy one stock, but I mean, if you're looking in Colombia, I mean, there's building a little Colombia portfolio for some of these junior names now is incredible, and I think the margin of safety is there now for investors. I mean, you can go buy 100,000 shares of Outcrop for $15,000 in your TFSA, and these tax-free savings accounts are just that. They're tax-free savings accounts, and for Canadian investors, what a wonderful way to put a growth stock in your portfolio and also have exposure to Colombia. So, I mean, what's the valuation of 50 million ounces is way more than what we're trading for.
Oh yeah, I think most people would put it at that grade. I think a lot of people would put EV per ounce of no less than $5.
Yeah.
Because even if you look at, I mean, let's find a comparison. It's not exactly, but say BlackRock Silver just put out their entirely inferred maiden resource report, 46.7 silver equivalent ounces at 446 grams equivalent silver per ton. Their market cap is 5 times ours as a result of that publication.
And I did that site visit as well. I went down to Tonopah. I don't know if I told you, I went to Tonopah and hung out with the donkeys on the street, and what a place. I don't know if you've been there, but you would have really liked it, Joe.
Hey, I cut my spurs in Nevada, so I've been to Tonopah many times. I've been on that project, and good for them. Really, it's the historic districts in Nevada kind of provide the same offhand potential as the Spanish colonial camps in Colombia. You go into an old camp in Nevada, you're going to find something with persistence. You go into a Spanish colonial camp in Colombia, you turn up Santa Anas. And there's 2 other maybe hurdles or metrics that investors might want to look at in Colombia. I don't want to talk less of any other company in the comparison, but really you want grade. You always want grade. This grade is an inherent de-risker. 2, right now in Colombia, because of the development of the mining industry, you want an underground project. It's 3 times, it's a third of the effort to permit an underground than to permit open pit. Not that they won't continue to develop the industry in Colombia. For example, Gramalote is making, or B2Gold is making great progress on Gramalote. But our focus right now is really extremely high grade underground.
So there you go, guy. I mean, some great points that we've brought up, Joe. I mean, grade is king, and it certainly is readily available in Colombia, and that's a very important a distinction I think with the underground nature of the Outcrop exploration properties which are really developing into a right in front of our eyes. They're developing into a resource, and a very, very low share price. So I mean, I think the entry point timing is incredible for investors. Maybe, maybe just to wrap up, I can give you sort of my, I've been in this business a long time, and been really involved in the junior resource market since the mid 1990s. And, it's an interesting time right now. I mean, a lot of the buyers are kind of on strike to a certain extent. It's hard to get bids, brought in.
Right.
There are buyers. There's always buyers. I mean, you got the stock market, so the number of shares that trade have to equal. So the buys have to equal the sells, but certainly the overall, volumes are definitely lower. And because, the bids are a little bit harder to build up these days, that's why we've seen, a pretty dramatic decrease in the overall value of shares, not just Outcrop, but juniors in general. And, I think it just all relates to sentiment. I mean, Warren Buffett was very famous for saying that in the short term, the stock market's like a voting machine. And in the long term, it's like a weighing machine. So I think, we have to recognize that there are times when, people are just voting with their feet and their emotions and thinking, these things are never going to come back, but they always do. And, I love to hear your thoughts. I mean, again, I come more from the capital markets, retail brokerage point of view. So I've seen this movie before. And,
I've seen it 7 times in my career.
Yeah, is that right?
I mean, I've worked in $280 gold, and no one thought it would come back then. I mean, that was, I can't even remember how many years ago, 20 more years ago. But a lot of what I don't go to a geologist for macroeconomics. Okay, read somebody else's newsletter. But I think what you will, I mean, I've just got better things to devote my time to, and I have smart people like you, Sherman, to help me out on some of those aspects. But I tell you what, everyone seems to be talking about that seems really critical is bottom. And are you going to actually wait for the bottom? Are you just going to enter, at a good time? Because you sure as heck can't time it. So, if you have a quality stock, that its share price just does not match its near-term growth potential, I think it's a buy. And also, I mean, it's the same for all stocks. It's management. You trust management. Does management have a discrete plan for value acceleration? Is it a good project? Is it a low-risk project? And a lot of investments just don't hit that box. And particularly if you're looking for exposure to Colombia, which has the benefits of the fantastic endowment, which has the benefits of the outcropping deposits. I'll just tell you frankly, is Outcrop is a good company to look at.
Well, that's a great way to end it. I feel like I'm, maybe for a second there, like Charlie Munger sitting beside Warren Buffett and saying, I got nothing to add.
Sherman, it's always informative to talk with you. I always enjoy it. So, and it helps me gather my thinking together into marching orders, so it's a good work.
It's great that we can share this on this Zoom video, and thank you so much for taking the time. I'm with Joe Hebert, who's the Chief Executive Officer of Outcrop Silver and Gold. I'm really looking forward to seeing you in Toronto. Have fun in New York. All of us are going to be out marketing hard and telling our stories. And what a great few minutes with you this morning. Thanks, Joe.
Okay, Sherman. Hey, catch you again later.